All right, we are live. Greetings, fellow traders. Let me get this tweeted out here so everybody can join in. Looks good. Da, 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 da. Da, da, da. All right, awesome. Good. Well, I hope everybody had a great trading day today. Gosh, we needed to get in early to have a great, a super trading day today. And some of us did. Some of us from the, from the live stream this morning were able to catch a couple of these moves. We'll talk about those in a little bit. And the theme of today is like, what just happened, right? So, so here we are, SPX, right? We have a kind of a red hammer type forming spinning top. So far, doing pretty good at coming off of the lows of the monthly low after being pushed down from last month, right? So after the spinning top at the upper Bollinger Band. So that's good. So from here, right, we can see the weekly chart, right? So last week was really interesting, right? We had this this green hammer that closed above the mid Bollinger Band, right? And then we started this week off, we started to push down, right? And now already 2 days into it, we're green again, right? With kind of a spinning top right here. So we might, push in and, give us another hammer or something like that this week to really start some bullish behavior, to the upside. So right now we're kind of in the middle of things, right? If we look at, where the big drop down happened, right? Of course, it was from here to here, right? Because that was the mid. This is your minor pivot right here, right, where we broke down. So I'm just from there to the drop, where you can see we're well over 50% of the range, right? Even from the all-time high, right? We're still over 50% of the range right there. So, pretty big recovery right here, but still in the middle, right? So, again, we had the minor pivot low after this upward trend line, right? Here's your minor pivot break, and then finally broke down to the downside, right? Now we have this downward trend line here, where we had the minor pivot inside day, started to close above that here, right? And then had this huge move, right, which filled multiple gaps, right? So it filled the island top gap right here, which, sorry, let me zoom over there real quick. Gotta go a little bit farther. Yeah, here, this guy right here. So this little gap here and this gap here was filled by this bar right here. Then we had an inside day on Friday, Monday, gap down, kind of an ugly day and all that stuff. And apparently plunge protection team doesn't want things to go down, too much farther. And so had a huge recovery today, right? So big push, got through the cloud today. Pretty impressive stuff, and tested a couple key levels, right? So hourly chart today was unique. 4 inside 60-minute bars in a row. Quadruple inside 60. Very rare. Normally I would expect some sort of move after this, but there was really nothing pending. Anything could happen, right? We've got China's on the border of Hong Kong, right? There's this trade talk still and all this stuff. So but we had this big bar, and so there's no denying the strength of this bar. So there is a possibility that we test, good possibility we test, the scene of the breakout, right? But today it still held up, right? So so we basically just kind of chopped around to straight into the close, very narrow range, right into the end, 5 points, 8 points right here, so basically 9-point range. So it's pretty tight stuff. So these are the levels that, whoa, look at all that. These are the levels that we look at that positive trend subscribers get, before the open. So you can see we went through a lot of levels today. Pretty interesting stuff. We've talked about the Fibonacci spirals before. Look at how we had this kind of northern doji right here, right through this Fibonacci spiral, and that's kind of where we launched today, which is kind of neat. And then we finished with this triangle kind of going into the close. So kind of some choppiness, a little bit of funk. Apparently there was a quote unquote glitch with a few of some of the index names that had like some bad data, I suppose, but apparently they said they corrected all that. I don't know. Can I, every time I get stopped down on a trade, can I call it a glitch and you guys correct that, right? So, but doesn't quite work that way. So, daily chart, this is where we're at. We have the, just make sure everybody can hear everything. So, okay, good. Yeah, so basically where we are, right? So this is the channel from 2018 to 2019, right? Starting to get into pretty deep into 2019 now that you think it's like, oh no, it's like the year's almost over, August, but we still have another quarter left, right? So anyway, here's a channel right for 2018, tested the lows, tested the highs, lows, right, down again, right, broke through, Christmas reversal, back to the channel, all the way up, pitchfork midpoint line, back to the median line, back to the midpoint line, and the top of the channel, right? Is it a coincidence that we bounced off of that? No. right? I mean, this is what happens, right, when we test these key levels, these geometric levels, right? Without these, right, if we didn't have this, we'd just kind of be floating in space, right? So this really helps gives us context, right? And then these levels are tested. So then we came down to the median line, and here we are, this kind of resistance zone right here, prior all-time highs, right? A little bit of congestion right here. So here we are right in it. If you guys remember our discussion from last week about the Ray Bull power, the other day it wasn't crossing over, and today it did, right? So we pushed down. Now we actually had a crossover today. So that does have, some bullish implications. But here we are, right in the resistance zone. Tagged the 50-day moving average and the resistance zone top, and then kind of came back off it for a little bit of a chop into the close and all that. So that is where we are today. Where do we go from here? Nobody knows, but we definitely can follow the price action to see which way it's going to lead us. So and hopefully catch a little bit of our fair share along the way. So that's where we are. So today, what happened, right? What was the the catalyst? What was everything? Well, obviously there was news, right? So, but interestingly enough, it wasn't really well broadcast, right? I mean, it was just kind of, wasn't a lot of stuff on CNBC. I didn't see a lot of tweets coming out of it. Everybody's like, what happened? So I figured we'd take a day and just kind of address that, right? So obviously the news, the way it came out was that, what is it? We're going to have, relief on some tariffs and all that stuff, and that just obviously any positive tariff news is going to move the market like crazy, right? But why so crazy today? And how can we apply that? Well, today, in the live stream, we do a live stream every morning, at the open, and we had we pointed out Apple this morning, and so Apple is one of the highest weighted names on the SPX, right? I think Amazon is still number one. Apple used to be number one, but I think it just kind of slipped to number two recently, and so Apple was really the first one to move, right? We were monitoring a lot of names this morning. This one really got going. And let's just kind of take a look here at the pre-market data and, just kind of what kind of set these things going. So apparently it had a, like a nice note today from the, I think it was Credit Suisse or something like that. It wasn't quite an upgrade. I didn't see it on my upgrade list this morning. But if we go back to this morning on Apple, let's see what we've got. So here, Apple, Kramer, Apple, Micron, jump. Nope. So somebody said something about some positive comment from Credit Suisse or something like that. Gave it a little bit of an. But what was interesting is most stocks were down massively this morning, right? I mean, in general, the market was down, right? Look, let's just take a look. Let's just go real quick. Amazon. It's doing that thing again. Where it doesn't go right to where I want it to go. Let me just auto zoom in here. Hello, auto zoom. There we go. All right, let's take a look at Amazon, and I won't go through a million of these because I want to deal with my. Amazon was down pretty good this morning. I mean, it really was, comparatively. Right, it was kind of drifting down. It had some big lower bars on that, pretty big moves. I mean, compared to where where it was the other day, right? It closed the other day at was it 1784, and it hit a low here of like 1772. So it's down over 10 points, for a little bit. But Apple, on the other hand, was a little bit different. Apple gave us some pre-market movement that was actually pretty bullish and actually kind of constructive. So let's kind of just zoom in here if we can find it. Here we go. Here. Okay, so look at Apple. Apple was actually a little bit more constructive than anything else. And if we kind of look at the short-term time frames, we'll see it a little bit clearer. But it really didn't move. I mean, it was really pretty steady, and it was actually kind of looking green right into the open. So a little bit different than some of its cohorts, right? So if we kind of put our pre-market box here, right to here. Right, we can see that it was poised to go. Right, it was poised to move. So if we go, to the short-term time frame, and just kind of take a look at this real quick. Right, this is the things that we look at the open. Right, so it didn't have like a big swing or anything like that after hours. Right, so a lot of the the others, just whatever. Go back to Amazon. Oh, it's doing that thing again. Right, we can see Goodness. We could see here, yeah. I mean, it had I mean, it wasn't really relatively fat, but it had. Look how much it moved right to down, and kind of got down here already. Right, it moved like 10 points down, and then it kind of worked its way up a little bit slowly. Some red bars, but Apple was continuing to look bullish, right? And even here, even Amazon wasn't even ready to go. You could see it after its first bar was a doji, right? And so when we go back to today, I don't know why it's jumping around with that. We go up to Apple. It was nowhere close to putting in any sort of doji this morning. It was ready to go, right? So that's what it did. It broke out of the box this morning. This is one of the things I mentioned. I was like, well, Apple could maybe move like 50 cents or a dollar or something like that, off the open, and that was kind of like generally where my first target was, and then it just launched. It just went, and so let's take a look a little bit closer why. And so yeah, the news came out and tariffs are being reduced, but why did Apple move like it did? And it really led the market today. And then I think everything else just kind of jumped on its coattails and kind of moved with it, right? And then everything kind of picked up. Okay, tariffs are good and all that stuff, right? So Apple was very very sensitive to this news. But let's take a look at the price action and kind of see how we could have seen the setup, right? And so we've been watching this, we've been stalking this, right? So here's Apple, right? So you have this downward trend line, right? So we have this here from the high, right, to the low, and then we connect it to its, nearest single pivot point that doesn't intersect any others, and that was up here, right? So just like a lot of the other ones, it really didn't give like a lot of huge opportunities, right, to for an early breakout, right? It had this nice inside bar on this one up, but it didn't have its first minor pivot until here, okay? And so that is a key level, right? And so if we go to, let me just go back, let me just put like default on here. Okay, so what I want to do is show, let's go, I've got 60 anchor up levels. I'm just going to put this back to default. Okay, we'll bring this to default. And then we'll bring this to default. Okay, and then we'll bring this one back to default. There, okay. So good. So let's put these levels on here just so we can kind of see the price action today. So this is your key level. This is your swing long level, right? And so if we go and we put our, if we put a price level here, we could just kind of go like this, right? So this is your swing long level. So we go like this, edit. So we can all kind of see what's going on here. All right, swing long level, right? And why is that? Because that is the first bar that broke out of the downward trend line to show that there might be a change of trend, right? So that is the minor pivot. So it goes up, minor pivot, down, and if we can get above that, then we have, right, potential to go, right? So what else do we have? We have, two subsequent lower lows, right? And so, and lower highs, right? So what this is doing is it's kind of setting, it's almost like an inside, twos, type method, right? But we have now some key levels, right? It's starting to get really tight. It's starting to get really consolidated. It's starting to pull back. It's starting to, form like a, if we put a trend line here, we could see that it was kind of pulling back to the new trend line, right? So this is your new low, right? After it broke trend, it was here, and here's your new level, right? So it started to pull back to the trend line, right? Not quite, right next to it, but still, trend was up. So pull back, and then we have these levels, right? We have here yesterday's high, so that was 202.05. So let's say here. No. Okay, 202.05. Here. Okay. So we'll call it prior day high. Okay, and then we have the other days. Right? So that was 202.76. Okay? All key levels, right? Two-day ago high. Okay? So we have that. And now what else do we have? Okay? We have a closing gap right here. Okay? When we got down here, right, we still had this closing gap to fill. So the close of this day, 204.02. Right there, closing gap. Do you see how close these are together? It looks like this crazy range, right? But look how close it is. I mean, this is what happens. This is like the ideal situation, right? So we have closing gap here. Okay? Right? Then we can have a cascade effect, right? The domino effect. That's exactly what we want. And then we had one more closing gap right here, right? Because we gapped down, right? So here's the low. So it was 206.74 right there. And I believe there was an open gap right here. Yeah, so here's your open gap. So that was 206.74. Right? Open gap. Gap window. All right. Open gap window. And then, last but not least, okay, we're getting there. And then we had the close, 208.83. The closing gap. Okay? And so, this is sort of a dream situation, right? A lot of folks were positioned pretty well, like into today, right? So, but these are one of the things that we can look at. So now we have all these levels drawn up here. Now let's see what they look like on the shorter term time frame, and just kind of see when we're planning a trade, how it is possible for it to move like this, other than just news. And so these are all the key levels from today. So now let's go back to the let's just go to the 3-minute time frame here, okay, and just kind of zoom out like this, okay. So to start. And this is what we called out on the live stream this morning, right? We have our pre-market box, right? This represents the highs and the lows of the pre-market. It just so happens to encapsulate all the aftermarket stuff too in here. So that kind of gives you like really, really key level stuff. Okay, so, and it was strong, right? So we were strong into the open, right? So we had green bars just kind of coming into the open. Right, so we're kind of working up. We're over the VWAP. Right? We have a green bar coming into the open, right? And then here's your first bar right here, and I'll just kind of show you what it looks like right here. So we're here, okay? So coming into the open, here's the pre-market box. Okay, so our goal is to get out of the box, right? So if we can get a nice green bar over there, we'd look to go long, or we could just trade a momentum move through there, right? And so that's kind of the idea, and that's what we got. So we got a pretty big bar, right? I mean, it moved like over 40 cents, plus, right? And so we can kind of see that right here, and look what it did. It got resistance right at the prior day's high. So, we could look at this, the range of the bar was 1.27. That's a little bit, that's okay, because it's a strong green bar through the box. So we could look to enter here off of the real body or off of the prior day's high. The prior day's high would be pretty strong, or if we're still positioned and we're in here, that would be the next goal. It did find a little bit of resistance there, but if we get through that, right, we could start to move higher, right? So it's a price action. Okay, so there we go. So we got to the prior day's high, okay? And I don't know why it's not doing it automatically there. There we go. Okay, so there we go. Now look what it did. It went to the 2-day ago high off of this one bar. Okay, well, things are really strong at this point, right? If nobody knows what the news are, we can still be like, okay, let me at least move my stop to the prior day high, right? That type of thing, right? And let's see where it goes next. Oh, it got to the swing long level, right? So that was, going back, that was that minor pivot high off of the downward trend line. Okay, getting pretty strong here. Look, and it just filled the gap. So this is actually probably a good place to look to take some profits, but let's see if it can get and close above that, right? Oh, couldn't do it, right? So if we did take profit here at the closing gap, no problem, no harm done, right? So, but if we're trailing bar by bar, like we've talked about, right, we have a stop down here, okay? And we also have the VWAP behind us, okay? So I think the closing gap is filled, good place to take profit, okay? But let's see what it did, all right? So it came back down, right? At this point, would have stopped me out here if I was trailing bar by bar, but it gave a nice hammer here. So it's still looking constructive. Could we go long here again? Perhaps, right? It's a nice reversal hammer, okay? And then it gave a nice push right there. So that was, and this is a 3-minute bar, so this would be very, very hard to catch. I think that these first bars were really good, but you could see, it had a shooting star pattern right here, and then a hammer that kind of reversed that trend, right? And it also, VWAP is coming up. We held the 2-day high, and it closed above the swing high level. So this almost isn't a horrible place to even put on a position for a swing, right? And then we had that huge push right there into the open gap window. So that is now truly filled. So the closing gap is filled. The open gap was the next one, right? And then you could see where we were here. So we had another closing gap right there. It filled that one, right? And then we just, inside bar, took the inside bar up. Oh, and then it hit like 212. And then it kind of like calmed down a little bit like for the rest of the day, right? So, but you could see that it was almost the perfect storm, right? So we had good news, obviously, but it didn't go up instantly, right? It gave a little bit of a pause because it had like some key levels that it was still testing, right? And then once it, this bar right here is pretty critical, right? Like I said, taking this, I would have taken profit right here on the closing gap. Maybe if I had some runners, hoping for an open gap window close, which would have been great, or if it's just patient, right? Just this, all this is just a little bit of a bull flag right here. So sometimes I'll wait like 3 bars for a bull flag. If it doesn't give you the bull flag, right, just kind of move on, right? But nice bull flag right there at a key level, right? So not a bad place to potentially add. Goes up, fills the open gap window, closing gap, right, and good to go. So that was it. I mean, Apple led the way, and then everything else pretty much you could see. What was that? 3 bars into it. 4 bars, it kind of gave a little bit of a pause. Let's see if we can get Amazon to actually pull up here. I mean, Amazon obviously had a stellar day. Anytime it's up 40 points is good if you can catch it anywhere near that range. It just didn't give the same type of price action that Apple did today. Apple was just pretty phenomenal. I mean, and Amazon was good, right? I mean, it was good, right? It just had a not quite as strong a bar, right? It took 2 bars to get out of the box, right? Inside bar, and then ultimately worked its way up, right? So, and very similar. I mean, Amazon was pretty good, right? There were some open gaps and all that stuff, but on the daily you can see it didn't do, quite as much, right? So, but Apple on the other hand, we saw our key levels, and it just cascaded. And it's very rare for Apple. I mean, a 10-point day on Apple is very rare, except for maybe a rough down day or something like that, or some big earnings or something like that, or just recently just because of the volatility. And that's one of the reasons too. I mean, the VIX has just been, so high, right? It's just been so crazy recently. So all this stuff combined, you can see level by level by level by level is a nice domino effect to the upside, right? Got a ton of momentum, big volume into it today. Still not as much volume as that down day, just pretty, after earnings, but still big stuff. But anyway, that was kind of like the market leader today. Real quick, if we look at ES. If I can see where that is down here somewhere. Give me 1 second. Yeah, here's your S&P futures. So today we were stocking this at the open too, and it gave nice price action to do it. I mean, it's been tough to catch, but I mean it happened, right? So we had a downward trend line right here. We had a minor pivot right here, right at 28.80, right? Came back down, tested that trend line, and then pushed through 28.80 really fast. I mean, just incredible move through it, really. So, and that hit, cascaded through a couple levels too. So, futures were strong, pushed through everything. Apple just had kind of really the perfect storm today. So pretty incredible stuff. And, don't feel bad if you missed it. I mean, it was just crazy. I mean, if volatility's high, and it's a dangerous day, to be trading. So, I mean, all these days are really, really risky, right? So this just happened when you have these high volatility days. Sometimes you can get these explosive moves. Now, when we see this stuff, we're like, oh, what happened, in a couple of months or whatever, when things calm down a little bit, right? We're going to be like, what happened to all these 50-point range days or 12-point range days? Right, it's gonna start being like this again, right? 2-point days, 1-point days, 1.8, and all that. So you're like, oh, what's happening, right? But this is just just a perfect storm that kind of came through. But anyway, wanted to go over that price action with you. I thought it was pretty relevant, because a lot of people were like, what happened, right? And so I thought it was pretty impressive. But anyway, at this point, if anybody has any questions or chart requests, feel free to plug those into the chat window, and we'll get through as many as we can. We'll try to wrap up by 10:30 so we can get a good night's sleep to have hopefully another awesome day tomorrow. Okay, futures are back down again, down 4 points, but who cares? It could mean anything, right? We were down this morning and we were up another 50 points today. So we'll see until things calm down. The VIX is still, kind of doing its thing. So call saw, hey, how's it going? Jay, what's going on? Hello. Thanks for tuning in. Julian, good to see you. Great day today. Eric, how's it going? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate all your support and questions. Call saw, epic short squeeze today. Just epic. It was. I mean, it really was. I mean, because everybody's like, oh, whatever. But you can kind of see where we're at, right? I mean, we're looking for these trend line breaks and these minor pivots, and that's what it gave us, right? Just a little extreme, but yeah, certainly epic for sure. Heather, hello. Dennis, howdy. Good to see you. TJF, hello everyone. Good to see you. Netflix, Boeing, and Tesla. Let's take a look. So Netflix. Netflix, for all the drama today and the rest of the market, was not up as much, but it was still a green day, right? So it had several levels too. It wasn't quite the epic move that Apple had. Again, Apple is really affected by the China trade stuff. Netflix not as much, right? But it had it still needs to get over this minor pivot, and it's having trouble with that. So that's that 316, 317 level. If it can get over that, then we could start to see more of a move to the upside, right? I'd love to see that 3 white soldiers again, but it's got to get above that 317 level. So that's going to be pretty key right there. Boeing. And hopefully everybody's starting to see these trend lines, right? How effective they are, and why we look at them for for trend changes and things like that. Okay, Boeing was the same thing. We swung this last week. We had a nice entry, right? So it gave us a good push. Had a nice, made some money on this trade, even a small candle like this. Obviously, I would love for it to have gone straight up to the cloud, but it never quite does that, right? So now we look for more, more possible entries, right? So we had an outside day today, kind of closed, a little bit lower, right, below its 60 anchor and all that stuff. So we'll look and see if it gives us another setup there. But as far as we can see right now, the next kind of pivot for it to try to get above is 399.08. So we're going to kind of look for that level too. So again, this is the first minor pivot right here. This 333.65. So we're just below that. So it might give another push above that too to trigger that. So that is a possibility as well. And then Tesla. Outside day. Okay, ended up, pretty bullish, up 6 points today. So it's a pretty decent, nice outside day. So it could give us a move. Last outside day we had, we kind of gapped down and then kind of moved back up. So today's, could be a significant day. Let's see if we get another push. Again, I think this is, prior 15 order from like an old upgrade or something like that day. So, it's still some key levels. But again, minor pivot breakout was right here, got above it today. So we could see a potential push on it, right? So, at this point, the trend is up until proven otherwise. It's not super steep, but it's there. So that's Tesla. My pleasure. Paul, what's going on? Good evening, my friend. Good to see you. Call us all. I know. I know. Stone cold on Apple today. Could you imagine? Can you imagine YOLO on that? Some folks had Apple swinging yesterday and woke up this morning and were like, "Ooh, that will work for me." So that's nice. But yeah, hey, good job. I mean, Netflix is still being constructive. So, NetBri, what's going on? Win, how's Win doing? Gosh, I meant to get to that tonight on the live stream at the close. I just couldn't get through everything, but. Big moves, right? Inside day yesterday, and it pushed off it pretty well and just kind of came back in today. So I would just give it a little bit of time. Wait till it goes ex-dividend, see if it gives you some setups after that, and then it can get going. Again, it needs to at least try to get above. It tried today, this 112.5. If we can get above that, then start to close above that, then we could get more constructive for sure. Ashutosh, how's it going? Good evening. Yeah, Match.com. Let's take a look. So Match is looking pretty good. We looked at this at the close today. It's pulling back. I'm not saying it's going to like completely go down and fill, but this was a key level for us, right? This is the gap and go level on earnings. It capped above it, right? And then it pushed, right? A really, really nice move on earnings. And now it's just kind of like, okay, when it does that, it might want to test a couple of these lower levels. So it hasn't quite touched that gap and go level. So it may do that and give us some consolidation and then look for another potential swing entry to the long side, right? So it is most annoying, right? When these close really strong and it's like, oh man, this is going great. Nice breakaway gap. It's doing really good. It's like, you get a long position right here. It just keeps pulling back, right? So, but that's why we like to wait a little bit to see if it pulls back to a couple of these levels. And we're getting really close to this gap and go level. I think if it tags there, it might, consolidate a little bit and then try to work its way back up. Nick, how's it going? Good evening, AMD. Yeah, let's take a look at the AMD. Down 32 cents, pretty disappointing considering their. Well, for AMD's credit, it beat Apple to the game today, right? I mean, right? I mean, even after earnings, right? This was great, and we actually had this swing long here. Ended up being a 500% trade for us, and some held longer, and it went even higher, like 700% or something like that. So that ended up being a really great day. So Apple really beat everybody to the punch, and you can see exactly what it did, right? It had a prior. Right, it had its gap and go level, and this is a gap and go day, so it was even bigger, right? Well, it was similar, right? So pushed through here, right? Filled a couple gaps, right? Got above kind of a minor pivot right there, and then closed. And then the next day, it gave a break over the gap up high, which then pushed over these levels and kind of came back in. And so after that, it's just kind of like consolidating around here. It is possible it could come back to this kind of 3150 level, which would be interesting if it came back to the cloud. In fact, I'd almost kind of like to see that. Not if you're long, of course, at this point, but but here, you can kind of see how it's kind of creating this nice new downward trend line right here, right? And if it did that and consolidated here at the cloud, that could give us a nice cloud bounce for a potential shot to for new highs here. So that'd be pretty cool. 52-week highs would be cool. Good stuff. Sarah, good evening. Heather, Roku, and Apple. I'm going to say we covered Apple already. In the first 20 minutes, but let's take a look at Roku. Yeah, so Apple, we could look at the daily a little bit. Anyway, big bar today, I would imagine some consolidation or something like that tomorrow, and then we'll see if it can kind of go from there. Roku looking pretty good, right? It had this big, oh, what a beautiful. You kind of look back at it, and you're like, wow, that was really nice. Look at that. We're looking at this like it was originally a bull flag, right? And I tried to break it out of the bull flag, and look at, we did talk about this, but look at that. Just tag that that cloud there, gave that nice hammer, then kind of gave an annoying day right there. But if you're swinging and you can deal with these kind of these pullbacks, right? We'll stop it below this this nice green day right here. Look at that, just perfect, right into earnings. Of course, you don't want to swing into earnings unless you have freebies, but you get the idea. Anyway, big gap up, right? So right now trend is up. Right, so here, it's a couple gaps. It's given us a lot of opportunities to make money at the open, and so that's been great. Now, tomorrow, if it's over 142, we'll go for it again. But at this point, it's got a red topping tail, right? So let's see if it comes back and at least kind of touches this 132.50, 132 area tomorrow, and holds this this upward trend line. So that's kind of key on that. Nudie Poo, what's going on? AU and Nvidia. Okay, so AU, right? But let's take a look. So, wow, big moves. Gold, I'd say, has been wild. But we have this, high to low, and then to here, right? So this new downward trend line, right? So the trend is kind of down at this point, right? You kind of see how it got there, right? Had this. We were looking at this, right? High, to kind of here, right? So couple breakout points inside and down. So, but it held the bottom of the pitchfork. So let's see if it consolidates in here and then look for an opportunity for it to get back above that downward trend line. Yeah. So Nvidia's got earnings on Thursday. At this point, could go either way. It's got this is has had a perfect storm type thing setting up. I do like this was your minor swing level right here, right? Nice push right through there and then kind of pulled back, right? That's the annoying thing about swing trading, right? So, but still looking pretty constructive. Nice outside day, right? If we can get above that, right? Maybe get through the cloud, and maybe earnings will be like the trigger to get it through the cloud, right? So, but overall, like kind of the macro trend is like down right here, but it's working on changing this sort of short-term trend to the upside. So let's see if it can continue that kind of path going forward. Earnings will be a good clue into all that. James, how's it going? Good evening. Albert, what's going on? Target and Starbucks. Cool. Yeah, let's take a look at a couple brick and mortar type companies. So TGT. Don't you wish everybody was just as happy as the baristas in Starbucks, right? Such a pleasant experience every time you go there, right? It smells like coffee, which always smells good. Look at Target. Yeah, this is a pitchfork that we followed for a while. Look at it. I mean, it's just kind of like held that kind of top of that pitchfork right there. Broke down, right? We had an upgrade right here, which is pretty interesting. And this is where we look to swing, guys, right? A couple pullbacks to this this 15 orb, which is from this upgrade day. It was like Deutsche Bank upgraded it. Came out, tested it again. Look at that. Would have been another perfect swing along. Tried to get out of the cloud, but came back, but tagged. Look at that. Tagged that pitchfork level and came back in. So at this point, it's any game, right? So I mean, we could look for some price action in here for some potential triggers. But it's got ex-dividend earnings coming up in a couple weeks or in a couple days. So so just kind of keep it on the radar. Starbucks. Ooh, nice outside day. Like I said, any pullback on Starbucks is almost buyable, right? Like, I mean, it's just this thing has been a monster. So this is it. This is the perfect one right here. I mean, it's not actually not a horrible place to attempt to swing long on it, right? I mean, 2-point day today, but basically along over today's high with a stop at the low of this blue bar right here. It could be a good way to go. I think possible shot to 100 on that one. Like it actually looks pretty good right there. Tempting, right? Karen, how's it going? Sup? Can we look at Uber and Lyft? Yeah, sure, absolutely. Uber. So Uber is still underneath the downward trend line, right? You can see what happened last time it got to it here, right? Kind of came up. So now we have a downward trend line right here. So let's see if we can get out maybe the next day or two, give us a minor pivot, and then give us a way to go. So that'd be pretty good. And it would be nice to see a reversal after its earnings miss. Lyft, in fact, let me put an alert here on that. That's good enough for alert. And my friend Scott likes this one too. There we go. All right, so that's that. Okay, and Lyft. Lyft is working on it, guys. So this was actually, yeah, this is good. Yeah, so today is technically a minor pivot high. So a breakout above today's high could get going for Lyft. Okay, it actually had good earnings. It just pulled back after it. It's back in the cloud. So look for a push over today's high. That could be pretty interesting. Okay. So there's Uber and Lyft. Jay, Kara. Let's take a look. Hope you had a good day today, man. Let's see. Kara Therapeutics. You like these interesting ones. You like the most complex ones we could find, right? No, I'm just kidding. So here we go. So we have the high here, right? Here's your low. There's your non-intersecting minor pivot. Okay. These highs, these are going to be key to get over. So 24, basically 24 and a quarter is going to be good. You know, it has good potential on Kara. Brian, what's happening? What do you recommend to combat? Oh, to FOMO. I thought you were asking what kind of combat I recommend. I was like, I don't know. I mean, I guess like, jiu-jitsu. You know, okay, so yeah, what combat FOMO? A couple things, right? I mean, you know, when you see something like Apple and it's just kind of going and you can't find an entry, or you don't have a system to find an entry on it, right? And to not chase, because today was the hardest day too. I even tweeted it out to subscribers today. I was like, guys, just because we have a big bar at the open doesn't mean all day is going to be like that. For some reason, the market gets us thinking that, right? So you go to Apple, you you have one big move and it's like we think that's going to be like that all day. And I wish it were. I really wish it were, because trading would be so awesome. I mean, and trading's cool, right? It's just it's more like a precision game, right? Instead of like a road gunslinging, right? It would be fun if it were, but it's really not, right? It's precision, right? And so it's having a bunch of setups, and that's really kind of one of the keys, is having setups that work for you, right? So Brian, you know, if you don't have like a set of setups that's defined, you know, I think it would be good to find, you know, one that works for you, one that you're most comfortable with, right? Whether it's like an inside 60, or whether it's like a cup and handle break, or whether it's a wedge, you know, something that you are that fits your personality and it's really good, right? And then only trade those, right? Only trade those setups. So like the fact that Apple went up today, if you are not a momentum price action trader, right, then it is none of your business, right, what it is doing, right? So you know, if it did not fit your parameters for the way you trade, right? If you're a moving average trader, you know, whatever you know, system that works for you, that's compatible with your trading, right, is what you have to stick to. And then you can and then it just takes time, right? Because you see stuff like, oh, I want that, right? I want this 10 points, you know? I want to buy right here, and then it pulls back on you, right? And so that is the hardest part, right? So it just is. And so, but when you have that set of systems, right, and nothing is setting your parameters for that system, then you can you have that enough confidence in your system to know that you're not going to mess with anything else, right? And so at that point, you know, you can kind of just wait for your system to alert you that something's going on, you know, and just kind of look at price and kind of observe price and, you know, kind of study that and, you know, just kind of separate yourself. It takes a while. I mean, like, especially new, you know, when we're new, like all we want to do is just make money all the time, right? Every second of every day, every movement of everything. And, you know, and there are methods where you can, you know, you can control that, you know, as a price action trader, but it's tough. It's a lot harder with options. You know, I mean, if you're just straight price action, if you're, you know, trade futures and stuff like that, I mean, there's stuff that you can do all day. You know, but you don't need to you don't need to make, you know, 10 points on a trade, right? You just have to have those setups, and we talked about that this morning. You just have those setups that, you know, that work for you, right? If it's 50 cents per trade, and I like to use 50 cents as an example, but if you can make 50 cents on a trade, right, then it's just consistently, then it's just a matter of, you know, slowly increasing size, right, to turn that 50 cents into, from $50 to $500, to $5,000, right? So that's the idea, right? And we have folks in our, in our group that just trade, bank stocks, right? And they only go for 10 cents, right? But when you have 100 contracts on 10 cents, that's pretty good, right? But you don't want to just throw 100 contracts on a trade, and then have a stop 20 cents below it, because then you're risking $2,000 to try to make 1,000 maybe, right? So you have to have that system in place, and for that to work. So that's the way to do it, right? To not miss that. So with this, I mean, if you're a momentum trader, it fits some parameters, right? So right at the open, you got to be quick, you got to be fast, and that doesn't fit everybody's personality, right? But it had a quick move through all the pre-market levels, and it pushed all and cascaded up, right? So I mean, obviously that's fun and all that stuff, but you have to know what we're looking for, and it does not happen all the time, right? I mean, yesterday it did, right? Kind of had a little bit of a push through, right? A couple times it does, but here not very much, and it pulls back. So you have to know where your limits are. We know where here's a resistance level right here a couple days ago. So you just have to kind of wait to get through it. When you get some momentum on your side, then you have a big winner every now and again, and it's great. But when you see those big moves, you can't have FOMO. You just gotta, hey, did this fit my system? If not, you just gotta move on, right? So that's the key, is to have that system in place. And then the only thing you have to worry about at that point is, like, did I miss my trade? Did I miss my entry? Right? And then if you missed it, you missed it. And wait to the next one. That's all. So it's got to be a game. Trading has to be one that you're dedicated to for a long time, because if you try to just jump in and make all these big killings every time, right? It's gonna catch up, right? So. But when focus on it and find the systems that you like, right, it can work in the long run. Anyway, hope that helps. John M, Facebook. Let's take a look. So needless to say, Apple had a pretty good day today. Facebook was up 3 points. Let's take a look at the daily charts. Right? So Facebook tried, right? So it had a couple minor pivots right here, and here. So it's kind of it tried to get above it, but it was just couldn't get any momentum at that point. So it ended up finding that as resistance, right? So at this point, Facebook, I would like to see it obviously over today's highs, that type of stuff. I like how it's back at the cloud. I like how it's trying to work on things. Let's see if it gives another consolidation day and gives us potential move up over the next couple days. Jay, love. Love. Is love a stock, or are you talking LUV? Or are you just saying you love this? You love this so much. Love sack? Where do you find this stuff? All right, so here's your low, here's your minor pivot, right? I got over it today, so I like how it closed right above that kind of minor pivot high. This could be starting something right here, right? I love. There we go. So it's trying to work on it right here. Look at that. It's got a big red cloud it could be going into pretty soon. Look at that. I mean, do you see anything like that ever? Incredible move right there. So we'll see if it's working on a reversal right here. See if it holds this trend line. If it does, then it could start to work its way up. Nice stuff. Uri, how's it going? Learn and prepare yourself so you don't miss the next big run. That's true too. Louis, how's it going? What do you think about using trailing stops? Any advice about how to set them? So I did. If you go on my channel later, Louis, and go to the playlists, I do a whole playlist on stops. Right, I did like 4 or 5 videos on setting stops. I think trailing stops are cool. It just depends, right? If you're trading options, I don't think just setting a trailing stop is a good idea, because the way options move, right? Because you can get like big, compressions and expansions in momentum, which could grab your stop really early, as opposed to just kind of trailing bar by bar. So kind of a visual trail bar by bar, I think is a good trailing way. But if you set an automatic trailing stop, I think you have to be careful with that. But on stocks, that could work really well. You're right. I better be patient and wait for another set. Exactly, and then get burned. And it's tough, but how do you combat that? And that's it. It just takes time. Right, and then like you said, and during that time when you miss one, just relax, take a walk, find something productive to do, even if it's within the market, right? Even if it's journaling or that type of stuff. So it's tough. I mean, trading for the most part is pretty boring, right? We're looking for setups to come to us, right? So go to Twitter and mess around on Twitter. That's what we do. Leo, How's it going? What do I think of BABA before earnings? And if I want to play earnings, these are just calls or puts. So I never recommend going in right to earnings. I mean, it's pure lotto type stuff, right? So whatever you trade, just assume you're going to lose everything. And if you don't, hey, it was a lotto, right? And then you have to see if it even makes sense, right? So the expected move, like if the prices are higher, right, than the expected move. So right now the expected move is like $7, right, $8, okay, and it'll get higher as we get closer, right? So, or I'm sorry, the implied volatility will get higher as you get closer. So if you look, right, so it means you really have to move $7, right, for things to kind of get going, right? And so here. Well, it's possible you're throwing $3 at it. So if it moves $7, just the expected move, you might make 4 points or something like that. But we'll see, how close it gets to it. So right now the IB is not that high on it, so yet, but it should get there pretty soon. So at this point, I mean, obviously BABA is too kind of tough to really tell. I mean, it has been just jumping all over the place, right? It had this downward trend line break, and it's just, up, down, up, down, up, down. Right off of the cloud. I mean, we just have to look for guidance, from earnings to see where it's going to go. Really, really tough. I have no. Yeah, I mean, even just looking at this, if I were going to be, there weren't earnings, if you kind of covered that up, I'd be like, I have no idea with this thing. I mean, I guess the trend is sort of up, kind of. Maybe a bump and run, So we'll see. Maybe tomorrow we'll give a little bit more clues and all that stuff. But I mean, it's in a really kind of awkward position right now. So yeah, really, really tough one on that one. Call saw, $60 next. That's what I'm talking about. Better than the opposite, right? So that's good. Louis, let's take a look at AMAT. Insight and what was that, Zscaler? Take a look. Nice outside day today. Looks good. Possible push over today's highs could bring it higher. It does have earnings coming up relatively soon on the 15th after the close. So yeah, just see if this you get a little more movement off that outside bar today. INCT. Is this what we wanted? INCT. I have no. This looks. I thought we wanted like insight for some reason. Like INSI? Is that the one you wanted? Hard to tell. That other one, that INCT looks pretty weird, but Insight looks pretty good. If you're looking at this one, it is working its way out of the cloud, so that does look interesting. So, and then ZS. Big move. So we've had this channel on it for a while right here. It's kind of in the middle of it. Kind of doing its thing right now. It's kind of just chopping around here in the channel. I mean, kind of really shortish term trendish is kind of like downish, right? I mean, it's kind of tough. It needs to put in a new kind of minor high right here for it to really get interesting, right? So, but right now it looks a little bit choppy as it's kind of working its way up the channel. I would wait for like a pullback out of the channel bottom / cloud, and then another move back up. Otherwise, maybe it's some sort of chart pattern in here, maybe a triangle or something like that it could work on. So, enjoy life. How's it going? Good to see you, Shirley. How are you? HBIO. Let's see what we have here. Wow, big move, Shirley. Yeah, I like how it's a nice push into the cloud. And then we have here, trend is up till proven otherwise. A nice cloud break would be great for you on that one. That would be great. Session, Team, CMG, and Co. Kook. I tell you, you always look at the right one, Session, for sure. You definitely have them on the radar. I hope I drew a channel on this recently. I didn't. So it did get out of its pitchfork recently, but if we have this, just a real nice channel it's been kind of working on. In the middle of the channel right now, could go either way. It looks a lot like that ZES type setup, but possible consolidation here if it gets over, what is that? Thursday's or Friday's high, right? Or was it no? It's Tuesday, right? Yeah, it's the highs from 8-9. Yeah, it's Friday, right? Yeah, so Friday's highs. Yeah, it could start to get going. CMG. Someone said that CMG had an inside day today. I think it was you. Let me say. Double inside day on CMG. That's what I'm talking about. Let's see if it gaps for us and gives us a direction one way or the other. So, if not, then we'll use the VWAP as your guide and look for a breakout from one way or another. Wow, CMG double inside day. That's great. Good stuff. Let me actually add that to the game plan here. And double inside day. Nice. Love it. And then Coke. Have a little Coke to wash down the Chipotle with your team. Outside day today on Coke. So look for some direction one way or the other. Break to the highs could give it another push up, but down again could continue to push maybe possibly back down to the cloud. Call saw MU. MU got going today too, didn't it? Very, very similar price action to Apple today. Just didn't have quite the cascade effect. But any of these semiconductors, that do business in China, right? Those big moves, right? So we had that pre-market push right through there, and a couple other key levels it went through. So at this point, big push here, right? Nice push to the minor pivot. So I would look possibly some consolidation or something like that. But nice belt hold bar, right? So the possible consolidation, possible work itself up there. Kind of a funky bar. Lots of funky bars today. CVS, Shirley. Yeah, CVS has been nice. Good move today. Good moves after earnings. Been holding its earnings high levels pretty well. So you guys can see that here. It got over, we had a gap and go day. Right, then we had a nice move up, inside day, outside day. So look at CVS above today's highs. That could trigger that GG3 that we never got to. That was that other gap and go level. And we might get a good push over that. Yeah, CVS has been really, really nice here. It's finally starting to move again. Isn't it amazing how this always does this? You look back at it and you're like, oh yeah, it's just a cloud break. Should have just positioned myself there. Cloud breaks are awesome, guys. They really are. Phenomenal stuff. CVS, I've got nothing. Hold on one second. A little bit of a delay here in my Thinkorswim. Configuring. All right, it's too late, but it looks good. Try to remind us tomorrow. Lily? Wow, look at that. Nice cloud break on Lily today. So a lot of these pharma names, started to look pretty good. Careful goes ex-dividend tomorrow, right? So just watch that for a possible pull. Look, I did it right at the fib 5. Sorry, guys. Sorry if I lost you for a second. I don't know. I clicked something and not receiving enough video. Okay. Well, hopefully it's going through. Anyway, we'll try to get through a couple of these as quickly as possible. But anyway, yeah, JCI, let's take a look. I don't know why it does this. Wow, big day on JCI today. Yeah, big push through a lot of these levels. That could give a nice outside bar today. Could give some continuation for you there. Nick, what's happening? Good to see you. Shirley, I'm gonna jump down to let's see. We lost a couple of these. Wow, Shirley, you can put so many out here. Five is like the most I could do. Louis, yeah, we looked at those. We looked at AMAT, INTC. Oh, I see what you're saying. You wanted Intel. Yeah, so Intel's got earnings coming up pretty soon. Right? Oh, wait, it already had earnings. Wait a second. Yeah, it already had earnings. I was thinking of Cisco this week. Sorry. So yeah, so nice outside bar today. Look to see if we get some continuation on that one, right? Would be nice to see a cloud break here through this inflection point on the cloud. That would be pretty cool. Oh no, that's cool, Heather. Yeah, exactly. Shirley, bam. Let's go over bam. Good old Emerald, whip something for us. Wow, look at that. Now, this is just a classic, right here. I mean, you have this beautiful. Let me do. is beautiful, like Gallic right here. So you have this. Look at that. Minor pivot, nice push there. And that, what didn't you wish everything would just trade like that all the time? Just beautiful. Nice move right there. So, Brian, yeah, okay, good. Nefry, I like bank, especially, yeah, BAC trade. Slow, but nice move. Right, exactly. That's great. I'm actually kind of tempted to do it too. I used to not like to do it, but I like how the spreads are. It's nice and slow. It make 10 cents. Good to go. Right? Jay, it's a stock. Just wanted to see it. I think it's onto something. I think so too. My pleasure. My pleasure. Louis, good, good, good. Yeah, thanks for checking that out. Albert, LK earnings in the morning. Really? Does LK? I haven't traded LK since it's been out. Looking coffee. Let's see. ADR sponsor. Let's see. Has anyone traded options on this one before? Is it any good? Looks like it's got monthlies. Yeah. Spreads look okay. Some good volume in it. Yeah, this will be interesting. Is it tomorrow? What time is it? Is it before or after? Ooh, before. Oh, that's definitely going on the list for tomorrow. Nice. Good. Thank you for bringing that up. Good. Yeah, we'll take it on that. And NVO, Shirley, I'm gonna jump over that. Intel, yeah, got it. Sarah, my pleasure. Nick, FTNT. Nice move off of the cloud. I like it. So yeah. So kind of put in like a couple minor-ish pivots right here. So yeah, nice bell hold bar today off the cloud. I would look for some potential continuation on this one. So yeah. So far so good on that. Yeah, HBIO pretty strong. John M. One more C test. Let's take a look. Strong. I mean, right? I mean, this thing has just been ridiculous. So it's been following this cloud all the way up. Right? Nice outside bar today. So, very possible it could push above that and get you, a... how is that not like a 52.8, 56.56? Oh, I guess it's kind of tight. Sometimes it's like an optical illusion with TOS. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of at this highs. Watch out. They could put some resistance up there, but another push above there could get some momentum. So, nice. Good. Oh, I'm glad you guys found some confluence on that one. That's good. No problem, Nefry. My pleasure. My problem. Call us all. Have a good night, everybody. Manoj, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Nick, my pleasure. All right, guys. Really appreciate everybody for tuning in. Have a great rest of your evening. Definitely, if you're new here, subscribe to us on YouTube. Also, check us out on Twitter. Check out positive-trends.com. Lots of good stuff there, too. And have a wonderful rest of your evening. And remember your risk first and stay safe so you can stay in the game. And I'll talk to you guys soon.